Alright fellas, here we're back on Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be looking at the Special Select Costume Scouts. Okay, so these banners are going to be dropping tomorrow. Duh, right? You know, this is kind of knowledge, right? Alongside the Paldea starters. Very cool, we're getting those free eggs, which is nice. I don't think I'm going to be doing videos over them because most of them are very niche, barring the supports, who have their respective weathers, being support characters, very good for sure. But I don't feel like I'll be covering them, especially if they're not 3 stars. But anyway, that's not the point of this video. So we're going to be looking at these select costume scouts here. There's 2 of them, and we're going to be seeing what are the most valuable characters you can get in these, select scouts, right? So we don't know the individual character lists, but we do know for certain that each seasonal sync pair is going to be returning, or every special costume sync pair is going to be returning, besides Rosa. We don't know that Rosa is not returning, but we know it's a big likelihood that she's not returning since her banner is already, released, right? At least I'm quite certain we don't have all of the information, right? Let me see her special costume. Okay, that's okay, bruh. I guess this is it, and yeah, select special costume scout A and B. Yeah, we don't know the individual characters that are featured on it, but we do know that we have these 3 on each banner. So we do know that it's very, very likely, obviously, that all 12 are returning, besides Rosa, of course. So we're going to see which characters are the most valuable pickups, which ones you should be really aiming to pull. So the first banner here has special costume Steven, Lily, and Guzma. Special costume banner B has Diantha, Ingo, that is Ingo, yes, and Lyra. Alright, okay. So we're gonna base this off of how valuable the character is. Obviously, like, all of these characters have their own uses, right? All of them, I would say, for the most part, are strong characters, strong and still pretty good characters. But I'm going to be judging this based off of how valuable these characters are going to be for new players, old players, etc. What can these characters bring that is going to be valuable to you? So we're going to start off with going through each of the characters from release all the way to the modern day, starting with special costume Diantha. So Diantha here, looking at her, she is a fighting type special tech sync pair with Keldeo, of course, 434 special attack. Her big thing is that she is a big damage dealer on the special fighting side, as well as having a good nuke. Because if we look at her 1 out of 5, she's got 192 base power with Secret Sword, deals damage based on enemy defense, not really too big. She's got her trainer move here, which raises her special attack by 4 and her crit by 3, as well as applying gradual healing. So she's got that good innate multiplier, or innate sync move, not sync move, the fuck, trainer move for, self-sufficiency, right? As well as her sync move here with the multiplier, more of the user defense is raised, the greater the power of the attack. That's pretty much just because of her abilities here, where she has the different leech abilities, where she's able to debuff both enemy defense, special defense, and speed, as well as buff her own of those same stats by that same amount that they were debuffed. So basically, you debuff an enemy stat, buff your own. It's kind of like that Holiday Whitney ability, except it's just for her. So, being a little bit older of a unit and whatnot. So pretty much as a base kit, pretty strong with Secret Sword, very good special attack stat, obviously, innate sync multiplier. Very basic tech unit for sure, at least from back then. Looking at her grid, she's got multipliers with Tough Cookie, Inertia, and Brew Wits, of course, as well as the sync multipliers. So if we want to look at all of it here, it pretty much is just, this is the same grid you're generally going to be running. Ignore the Aura Sphere move gauge refresh. This is what you're going to be running. You're going to be running for the full Sync Nuke, as well as the Tough Cookie DPS for Secret Sword. Not much of a reason to be running anything else. None of the other abilities I would say she has, other than Aura Sphere Staggering, are immensely valuable. I would say that this is definitely the only other ability that is worth picking up on her grid. So this makes her very straightforward in being a good nuker, with the debuffs as well for speed, special defense, and defense. But in terms of like how valuable she is, really looking at her, she's just a strong nuker with stat debuffs, which is a lot of different characters that we're getting now, like special costume Rosa, right? I reviewed her yesterday. That's what she can do. She's a strong damage dealer that can debuff and do a good sync nuke. Very basic, very straightforward. So, because of that, I'm not going to put Diantha in valuable or immensely valuable. I'm just going to put her in good, because she is a good sync pair. She is strong, very strong for sure. But the values that she brings to her team is not as crazy as what other characters can bring, right? She's just a strong nuker, which is what we have a lot of. So I don't want to say that Diantha is bad, because she's not. but she's not bringing something super valuable. Special fighting is actually super valuable. That you can definitely make that argument, right? But looking at just the fighting type in general, we've got a lot of good options there already, right? We've got ourselves B, old for sure, but still very strong character. Wally, Wally's a funny fella. Wally's funny because he's good now that if you have Neo Champion Hop. If you have Neo Champion Hop, Wally is good. If you don't, well, he's not good, but B still is. But if we look at her on the special fighting side of things, she is the only special fighting attacker that I can immediately name, I would say. Yeah, she's the only special fighting character other than Wally with Focus Blast, I guess, but still. We're not running. Wally's a different situation, but right. I would say she's the only real viable fighting special attacker, which does buff her value up a little bit, but I'd still say for the most part, you don't really need fighting strikers, especially because I don't think there's any fighting week stages that have sentry entry. So I think you're still good to not have to run her for any fighting stages. Though I could be wrong there. I could definitely be wrong. But anyway, I'm going to keep Diantha in good because she's very strong for sure. Just doesn't bring too much value at all, I would say. Just another really good, strong sync pair for sure. That's pretty much what it's at. Anyway, our next character is going to be Special Costume Hilda. Okay. Hilda was the original Diancie. Her big thing is obviously she's a rock striker, which back then it was becoming more common along with her release, but still at that time rock wasn't really the strongest type. For the most part, you only had really Emmett and Classic Blue other than her, and that was pretty much it. But anyway, looking at her, she is 356 attack. The defensive stats are pretty meager, about average I would say for strikers, at least back then. 307 speed is alright. Looking at her Mega Evolved stats, 427 attack is a lot better. 368 speed is definitely really good as well. Obviously, having a Mega character, her Sync Nuke is going to be, the damage is going to be quite reduced because of the Mega Evolution and whatnot. But looking at her moves, she's got Stone Edge, which is a 3-gauge move, which is neat, sure. She's got X attack as well for buffing her own stacks. Her Shine on Trainer move, which raises her speed and accuracy by 2 and crit by 3, meaning she's got self-sufficient stat boost, which is good for sure. Being able to buff her accuracy as well is very good for Stone Edge because I tend to miss every Stone Edge I can. That's fun. And then she's also got Diamond Storm, which has a 50% chance to raise her own defense by 2. 195 base power, but of course it is split between multiple targets, so it's got that same syndrome as like Origin Pulse or Precipice Blades or the new Giovanni's Crushing Earthquake, those type of things, right? And then of course Sync Nuke, as we said, reduced power for being Mega Evolution. Whenever she's not Mega Evolved, she has Head Start 1, which is good for sure. You can run her with the theme skill of Head Start 1 or like another character with Sync Countdown, and you can definitely benefit off of that. That's very good for sure. Tough Cookie for a multiplier for her DPS, definitely very, very good, especially because of Diamond Storm's split damage and Stone Edge's relatively low base power. Having a multiplier is good for sure. And then Swag Bag 1, increasing the chance of getting moves with additional effects to activate, meaning that her Diamond Storm is going to be guaranteeing the defensive buffs by 2. Definitely good for sure. And when she Mega Evolves, she loses Head Start 1 in favor of Fuel Economy 1, so now you are using less gauges on your moves. So 1 out of 5. Pretty solid base kit. She's got a multiplier, guaranteed defense buffs for herself, very good self-sufficiency, relatively strong moves, multiplier again, fuel economy, pretty good stuff. Only problems I would say is that even with that multiplier, I'd say it's probably still not enough for her DPS to be like overwhelmingly good, so you're still going to have to be running some other stuff in order to try and buff her damage, like Rock Zone and whatnot, which she does work well in Rock Zone for sure. And maybe Gauge could be a little bit of a problem, but I doubt it. And obviously her Sync Nuke is going to be horrible. It is going to be absolutely horrible. Let's be real. Looking at her grid, obviously, at 3 out of 5, she does get a lot of stuff, especially for her Sync move. She's got Towering Force, 4 Sync nodes, as well as, I guess, Double Down, but I really don't care much about Double Down. Adrenaline 1, by the way, there's that. Double Down, I mean, if you're doing super effective damage, I'm going to be honest with this character, you're going to be doing super effective damage anyway. It's not going to be too bad. You can definitely run at least a decent support and get like super effective next or something on her, or just boost her damage anyway. If you're running against super effective stuff, she's going to be fine. I'm thinking more like off type and stuff for this character. So I'm not really going to consider Double Down too much because she's going to be doing just fine anyway, super effective damage, so this is just making her big numbers look even bigger. Anyway, sorry, yeah, but the Double Down is just going to be making her super effective moves do even more super effective damage. It's not going to be super insane, right? It's not a big increase. Other than that, let's see, she's also got Diamond Storm ramming speed, definitely really, really good for sure. You definitely want those DPS multipliers, something that Archie and Maxie can envy for the most part, because I'm pretty sure they also only have a 30% multiplier. So having this extra multiplier here does help her out for her AoE damage for sure. Crit Strike 1 on Stone Edge, not really worth anything. Other than that, the fast track is okay, but honestly, I would just bring a gauge support because she's already self-sufficient in her other buffs, so she really only needs speed, I would say. You also obviously can't pick up everything. That's just going to be a caveat of, you know, sync grids. You can't really run everything, which is annoying. It seems I'm not going to be able to pick up everything either, so that is a problem. Ooh, big problem. Okay. Guess Adrenaline 1. That's fine. Getting rid of Adrenaline 1, not a big problem. If you want to run a near full nuking grid, there you go. You got 3 sync nodes there. Diamond Storm ramming speed. Damage is going to be good for sure. You can definitely sub out some of these sync nodes for Adrenaline 1, because honestly, I think the sync countdown is a lot better anyway. I do. I would say 100%. Sync countdown is one of the best things you can try and go for in the game. And also, she's got a really good partner, and obviously, you know, Signasuit Diantha, because Diantha's buddy Diamond Storm is able to buff all allies' defenses, which is very good for obviously activating her Tough Cookie, as well as, of course, obviously Diantha having Rock Zone, as well as having Diancie. They're meant to be run together. That's kind of how they were built. Very, very good partners there for sure. But despite all of that, I'm going to also put Diantha, well, kind of. We're going to put Hilda in the good tier, because she does do good damage, for sure. Not as good as Diantha, I would say, for sure. I would say that Special Costume Diantha is better than Special Costume Hilda, but I would say that in terms of both of their strengths and whatnot, neither of them provide enough to be put in this valuable tier I've made, but they are both still really strong in their own rights. Diantha, I'd say, is definitely a lot better at 1 out of 5 than Hilda is at 1 out of 5. 3 out of 5 is a closer fight. I would say Diantha is still better, but then Hilda is still really good as well at 3 out of 5. Hilda definitely wants dupes, I would say, for the most part. Anyway, Guzma. Guzma's a fun one. Okay, so this guy's a very gimmicky character. He's got 356 attack, which is solid enough for a striker, right? Pretty low defenses, low HP, low speed, pretty bad stats all around, other than the attack, I would say. But he's got some fun niches. He's got himself Dynamic Punch, which is a 50 gauge move, or 50 gauge, whoa, fuck, 50% accuracy move, 4 gauge as well, 237 base power, so very strong, right? And it leaves the enemy confused. But of course, you have the accuracy problem, right? So he's also got the X sure hit, meaning that his next attack will be a guaranteed hit, meaning they're kind of wanting you to run the accuracy stuff, which we'll see why in a minute. But he's also got Hammer Arm here, 3 gauge move, 148 base power. I did not know it was that strong, actually. Good lord, okay. Lowers his speed by 1, whatever, for the most part. And then his trainer move, Show No Mercy, raises his attack by 6, crit by 3, and his defenses by 1. So debuffing his own defenses is annoying, but he gets all of his stat boosts instantly. So it's a pretty fair trade-off, I would say. Normal sync move here, 300 base power. Looking at his passives, though, he gets Victory Charge 2, which charges move gauge by 2 when he knocks out an opponent, which can be good for queuing up a move in time, for sure, but mostly a kind of niche ability. He's also got Super Sinker, giving him super effective next after using his sync move. Kind of unnecessary, I would say, because he's doing good enough super effective damage anyway. It's not really a super big accomplishment. But his ability here, Tenacity 3, increases physical moves next by 3 when his attack moves misses. So if you use Dynamic Punch and you land it, cool. You just landed a 237 base power move. You use Dynamic Punch and you miss, you get +3 physical moves next, and you get to try again. That's a pretty funny gimmick, and it works out relatively well, and that's kind of how they want him to be built, because you want to like kind of build up his physical moves next, and then in order to make sure he lands his next attack, you got the X sure hit next, and then you can land yourself that Dynamic Punch, right? And get them hit with like what, maybe a +3, +6, +9 physical moves next boosted Dynamic Punch, which can be really strong for sure. It can be really strong. So this is definitely a fun ability. Only thing I don't like about it is that he has no multipliers. He literally has no multipliers, whether it be in the grid or otherwise. I mean, obviously he's got the super duper effective in Confusion Synergy 1, but these combined total of 20% multipliers is not going to do him anything, especially when he's going to be killing the enemy with super effective damage anyway, so this is almost useless. And Confusion Synergy 1 is a 10% multiplier. It's not a big difference. It's just not. The big thing with his grid that helps his strength is that he gets Haymaker, Sync Nodes, of course, Tenacity 1, and Fuzzy Strike. Those are probably the biggest things that he gets. He also gets Constellation Prize, I guess. or gauge and whatnot, so there's that. He's also got dynamic entry here, which gives him sure hit next whenever he enters the battle, meaning his next attack will be guaranteed to land. That's definitely good for sure. But you can also, of course, go for a nuking route here with the Haymaker, Tenacity 1, and Fuzzy Strike here, to where you can guarantee land yourself the attacks there and get yourself some good strong sync damage, because he can hit pretty hard for a sync nuker. 150% multiplier total with 2 sync nodes, pretty decent overall. Nothing compared to Diantha, I would say, but the big thing, of course, is that his dynamic punches are going to hit hard with the physical moves next, of course, but you've also got to miss those moves, and you're going to be kind of missing out on the damage that you would get from landing those. And while you do get those +3 physical moves next back, I think your overall damage total is going to be reduced immensely, because even though you may put up like a 15,000 damage dynamic punch off type, you missed like 3 or 4 turns in order to try and land that 15,000 damage move, meaning your overall DPS is going to go down to like 3,000, 4,000, something like that, right? So that's kind of the point I'm getting at, to where his overall DPS isn't going to look super impressive, but that one move that he lands with like +9 physical moves next is going to look pretty crazy. Kind of what I'm going for. He's also got abilities like accuracy ceiling, meaning he can not raise his accuracy. Obviously, it's an intended function to where you want to maybe miss these moves, but of course you can also give him the abilities to buff his accuracy, and you can kind of get rid of this niche, of course, buff his accuracy, make it so he lands these dynamic punches, and he can just try, you can use him in a more straightforward method to where he can just do a lot of damage. That's kind of how you could also do it. But overall, I would say the nuke's solid, nothing crazy, especially not compared to Diantha, and the DPS is alright, I would say. I'm very close to putting him in niche. I don't know, I probably would have to put him in niche, I would say. Diantha, Diantha's better for 100%, just as a damage dealer. Hilda, I would say, is probably closer to his level of strength, but just, she's good enough being a rock damage dealer, and whatnot. Guzma's directly competing with Diantha for the most part. They are on separate banners, but like, you've also got to consider the other characters that are on that banner, so keep that in mind. Overall, in terms of fighting stuff, Diantha's better. Guzma's niche, but he's good. He's strong. He can be strong for sure, but just probably not to the same level of these characters, I would say. Okay, Jasmine. It's time for the bias to kick in. This character is one of my favorites, just straight up, because I love using her. I love using her every time I get the chance. So, she is a special support character for the most part. She's got 336 special defense, 200 defense, which is pretty bad, but she's a very big specially defensive support, so it makes sense. 614 HP, pretty average / meager, I would say, and 239 speeds, pretty bad. So, pretty normal stuff, I would say, for the most part, for a character from this time period. But looking at her ability, she's got a lot to do a lot of special buffing. She's got Absorb for a 1 gauge spammable, which also restores HP. Nothing insane on the HP restoration, but it's a 1 gauge move. Might as well make use of it. X Regen all, applying gradual healing to all allies. Flash Cannon, a 3 gauge move that has a 10% special defense drop rate. You'll probably never use this other than having her grid, I would say. And then her trainer move, Steal Yourselves, raises special defense of all allies by 3, crit of all allies by 1. So, being able to raise special defense of all allies this quickly is pretty good. Being able to raise crit by 1 is also a good ability for sure, but her passes are where she kind of really shines. She gets Team Sharp Entry 1, meaning she gives all allies +1 crit on entry, so she can buff crit to max in 2 turns, which is good. Group Morale boost 9, 100% chance of raising all allies special attack by 1 when the user's trainer uses a move. That's a good ability for sure as well. +2 special attack, +6 special defense, +3 crit. You got the X Regen all as well, that's good. And then one of her best abilities was on release whenever she got Safety Net. Applies endurance to all allies after using her Sync move. This is great, being able to leave your allies on 1% HP and being able to survive an attack. That's definitely really, really good, honestly. It has saved me many times in battles whenever I've used her. 1 out of 5, definitely not very impressive. I can understand this. Her special defense buffs are good, but, that's kind of niche. Crit buffs are good, special attack buffs are good, but her special attack buffs are too low. And the safety net's good, but her grid fixes a lot of her problems. So she gets Team Triage, Tank 2, 30% chance to restore HP whenever being hit by an attacking move. This can, heal all of your allies up in case you're hit by an AoE move. It can be good for sure. Sadly, it is only a 30% chance. Quite annoying. But she's also got Absorb Mind Games 4, 50% chance to debuff special defense when using Absorb. So not only do you have a 1-gauge spammable, which by the way she has move gauge refresh 9, which is actually a very solid pickup for her. So if you want to pick that up, go for it. So there's that. You also got the Mind Game special defense debuffs. So you can use a 1-gauge spammable, use no gauge virtually, and lower enemy special defense. Pretty good, I would say. Pretty good. She also has Vigilance innate. This can be good if you want to run like Head Start or Adrenaline as a lucky skill. I've personally not picked it up, but I can see reasons to pick it up. I may pick it up in the future. I don't really know. Maybe. Unyielding 2, 30% chance to apply endurance to her after her endurance, goes away. So if you are having problems with her being bulky or whatever, like in the stadium, you can potentially pick up Unyielding 2 and be sure to have her live some extra attacks with the endurance. It can be pretty good. It can be life-saving. I've not really personally made use of the ability, but you can definitely try to yourself if you want to, of course. Other than that, she's got Train and Move all ramped up 1, raising all allies special attack by 1. This is where you make good use of the Train and Move special attack buffs for sure, because also she's able to boost special attack whenever using X Regen all, obviously, but this makes the buffs go faster. So you're able to buff allies special attack to +4 in 2 turns, and then +2 with the X Regen all. So 4 turns total to buff to +6. Not too bad, but of course +4 in 2 turns is the big thing. Also maxing ally special defense as well as maxing their crit. That's where her big stuff is. She also has Catalyst for move gauge acceleration, which does help the gauge problem with her speed. And she's also got Survivor Mentality, reducing physical damage when in a pinch. Kind of niche. But she's also got Flash Cannon on a roll 9 here for a guaranteed special defense debuff every time she uses Flash Cannon. This is mostly if you have sufficient gauge and you want special defense debuffs guaranteed instead of going for honor roll on Mind Games, I would say. That's pretty much what you would use it for. So, yeah, there you go. What do I have picked up on her? I don't actually remember. I forget how I built her grid for myself. I do know I have Train and Move. They're all ramped up on the Train and Move and whatnot. But what else do I pick up? Oh yeah, this is what I picked up. Okay, so that's how I picked it up. This is my current grid. The all ramped up is really good. Special defense debuffs from Absorb as well as the guaranteed gauge restore is also good. The gradual healing here is good and combined with the Absorb healing as well as the X Regen all. I've used Jasmine a lot. If you want to know how good she is, you can probably scour through some of my older videos or just videos in general, and you'll probably find a battle or two of me using her as a support. I'm not going to say she's like the best support in the game or anything. She's definitely got a lot of stuff that is lacking, but I'd say that her endurance, special attack buffs, great special defensive capabilities, as well as the crit buffs and healing are pretty good at making her a relatively strong character. I'm not going to say she's in the valuable tier because I would say her big value is coming out of her 3 out of 5 grid, not so much 1 out of 5, but she is definitely good for sure. Not a bad pickup if you're willing to candy her to 3 out of 5. I would say so. Special Costume Lily, next character. Okay, so this character, in my opinion, feels like Special Costume Jasmine, but like slower slash, I don't know, I guess kind of slower. I don't know, but she's got stuff. I'd say she's a ghost support, obviously. 550 HP, which is not a great HP stat, but she does have higher defense than Jasmine, as well as around the same special defense, so that's very good for sure. Gauge is alright, I guess, with the speed buffs. For the most part, yeah. So stats are alright overall, barring HP, I would say. It's a little bit too low for my liking, but of course, you can obviously make, you can change it with the EX and whatnot. Up to you. Anyway, she's got Astonish for a 1-gauge spammable, very good for the flinching. Very, very nice there. Potion for healing, definitely very, very good, very, very quick healing, as well as X Special Defense all, as I said, very similar to Jasmine. And her Train and Move, which activates a random effect. It can be a 1% chance for Ghost Zone. There's a chance for Move Gauge Acceleration. I think she can apply like Status Condition Nullification. I could be wrong about that, but I don't remember. These effects are all decent. Nothing super insane, but like the Gauge Acceleration is one that's really good for sure. So there's that. But this also raises all allies special attack by 2 and applies gradual healing to all allies. So very similar to Jasmine in that respect, but she can do it at 1 out of 5. Or do it really well at 1 out of 5, I would say. Looking at her skills, she's also got Focus Group 9, 100% chance to raise crit when her Pokemon uses a move, so Astonish. So she's got guaranteed crit buffs. It just takes a while, but and she can also not buff any stats while doing it, so that's definitely a bit more problematic, but is built for a longer battle, I would say, right? She's also got Team Fist Bump 1, 20% chance to restore HP when her attack move is successful, and Team Triage Tank 9, meaning instead of Jasmine having a 30% chance, Lily here has a 100% chance. So, pretty good, honestly. Team Triage Tank is like about the same level of healing as a gradual heal from, you know, Extra Gen All and whatnot. So, keep that in mind, combined with the fact that your allies are going to have regeneration from this trainer move that Lily can provide. It can be pretty good, so yeah. Overall, Lily's buffs are about the same as Jasmine's, barring the fact that she does random effects like Gauge Acceleration, Ghost Zone, which again is a 1% chance, so don't take it as anything actually viable, though I did actually manage to activate it before, which is funny. But she's also got the chance to flinch, which Jasmine doesn't have. She's got quicker heals, and she's also got, I guess, a little bit better gradual healing. But the thing with Jasmine is she can do it all at once. Lily has to do it all separately. She has to buff special attack separately, she has to buff special defense separately, and buff crit separately. So do keep that in mind. Similar tier, I would say, in terms of that. But looking at her grid, she's got a lot of different things. She's got Trainer Move Critical Squad 1, meaning she can buff special attack a lot faster now, which is great. Astonished Aggravation, 60% chance to flinch is obviously really good. She's got Trainer Move all ramped up 1, meaning she can buff special attack a lot faster as well, plus 6 in 2 turns. That's good. Trainer Move Propulsion. This is also very good for sync countdown. So if you're willing to give her the grid, oh my god, what is this grid? There you go. You got stuff like that. It's definitely a very, very strong ability. I would love to be able to pick this up, man. Come on. Don't do this to me. No, they're going to do it to me. Oh well, fine. Whatever. I don't care. But overall, yeah, these are some good abilities here at the top. Looking at the bottom, X Special Defense, all Barricade Buddies. Nothing insane, but it does match Jasmine's ability to buff Special Defense very quickly, so I guess there's that. Static Cling, 30% chance to paralyze an opponent whenever hit by an attacking move. Relatively niche, I would say, but still pretty good. Revenge Boost 9. So she's got this gauge efficiency stuff, yes. So there's that, and Potion Master Healer stuff, so neat. I'd say their best abilities, though, are for sure these top abilities. Like, it's not even a contest, I'd say. The all ramped up is great for buffing special attack in 2 turns. Critical Squad making the crit buffs go from, what, fucking 3 turns, and as well as no special attack buffs, to 3 turns, as well as having all your special attack buffs. That's good, for sure. And then Astonish Aggravation makes her flinches a lot more consistent. Very, very good there as well. Propulsion for sync countdown. This is a little bit less useful if you have the Astonish Aggravation, and vice versa, because the whole point of aggravation and flinching is to deny turns, meaning you get sync countdown and whatnot, so the propulsion may not end up being as useful. So you can probably, sacrifice that, pick up this stuff and whatnot, but really, it's up to you and how you play the game and whatnot. Overall, I'd say Lily's a pretty good support. In terms of value, I'd say she definitely borders the valuable tier for sure. I would say for sure she definitely borders it. I'm going to put her in it because 3 out of 5 specifically is very good. 1 out of 5, not as good at all, I would say. But this 3 out of 5 definitely does give her some good contention in being super valuable. So I'm going to put her in the valuable tier. I'd say she's probably going to be the least valuable of the valuable tier, and obviously less valuable than the immensely valuable tier, but I'd say she's definitely in the border here between good and valuable. She's definitely on very close to Diantha, I would say, in terms of relative value. Special costume Sonia. Okay, this character is pretty much just summed up to be a very strong grass attacker. One of her best team composition is Adamant plus Cygnus Acerola, in which case she can do a fuckload of damage. She can do a ton. But anyway, let's look at her stuff. So, 288 attack, very bad, but obviously they make up for that with her Power Whip, as well as probably her sync damage and whatnot, right? So it makes a bit of sense. 669 HP, quite high for a striker, but it's still good, obviously. 146 defenses, about average. 224 special attack doesn't matter. 270 speed, pretty low, mediocre, I would say, around that area. So overall, pretty decent, subpar-ish stats, I would say, for the most part. But attack, pretty low, but obviously they're going to make up for that. Anyway, she's got Razor Leaf here, 3-gauge move because she does have Hit the Gas 5, Power Whip, 4-gauge move, 211 base power, very, very strong for sure. X attack for self-sufficient attack buffs, and her trainer move here, raising her accuracy by 2, so now we've got guaranteed landings on Power Whip. Definitely very, very good, especially if you're facing like a Latias with the evasion as well as accuracy debuffs. And raises her crit by 3 and increases physical moves next by 1, meaning she's very self-sufficient in all of her buffs other than speed. This is very good. Looking at her passives, she does have Hit the Gas 5, which obviously it just makes her moves a little bit stronger here. Well, about 50% stronger, but still. Power Flux 9, pretty solid ability, I would say, being able to have that extra power with your sync move, your normal moves, I would say, having that extra power. I don't know the exact multiplier, Power Flux 9, but it can't be that bad, especially, you know, if you choose to get rid of the gauge parameter and you have that +6 gauge total, and then you use Power Whip from full gauge. This is probably going to be pretty strong. And of course, Sync Power Flux, so you essentially want to have that. Pretty sure Sync Power Flux is a 100% multiplier when you're using it as 6 gauges, so I'm going to just probably assume Power Flux 9 is a 30 to 40%, 50% maybe damage multiplier. I could be wrong, obviously. I don't remember. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm going to say she's still going to be hitting really hard, obviously. Sync Power Flux, not a bad innate multiplier off of the 300 base power sync move, especially being AoE with the, you know, EX and whatnot. Plus the stat buff she gets with the EX, 328 attack. That's definitely looking a lot better. So, not too bad overall. Not too bad in terms of her base kit. Pretty average physical striker, I would say, though. Nothing super crazy. Looking at her grid here, she has the sync nodes. She's got Furious Brawn, 30% damage multiplier, Solar Flare 5 for a 50% sync multiplier, Insult to Injury for a 30% defense, the fuck, 30% damage multiplier, Haymaker for 100% sync multiplier, Locked On Sync for a 30%. Jesus Christ. Okay, we got a lot of stuff, clearly. Looking at what her grid is, I'd say probably around that. Haymaker is definitely something you need to pick up. Insult to Injury, probably less so. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go for Power Whip. Maybe not pick up Furious Brawn. Damn. Okay, so looking at her nodes, she's got a lot of good nodes, but you can't pick up everything. So you're kind of probably got to focus on like a nuke grid or a DPS grid, and then, or maybe like a small hybrid, but I'd say hybrid probably isn't the best idea. Either way, she's got 2 really good DPS multipliers here with also Charging Sun. Damn. So she's got Charging Sun too. Okay, well 3, but she's also got Charging Sun. That's crazy. 3 multipliers here for 30% extra damage, plus the Power Flux 9 off of a 200 base Power Whip. Pretty good damaging move, I would say. Pretty good. And then obviously for the sync damage, Haymaker for 100%, Solar Flare 5 for another 100% or 50% multiplier, sync nodes of course, as well as Locked On Sync for a 30% sync multiplier. Not bad overall, for sure. Yeah, she's got a lot of good nodes, I would say. Can't pick up everything, but all the stuff is definitely pretty good for sure. Gonna have to kind of pick and choose, though. X-Attack Berserker 1 to make her buffs go faster. Not necessary, but it can be good if you want to get to +6 physical attack, especially activating Furious Brawn, so it can be good in that aspect. But really, you're probably going to focus your nodes on all of these damage nodes, I would say. Defense Crush 9 as well, but again, if you're running her with Adamant, honestly, that's going to provide you the Sun for your Solar Flare and Charging Sun, and it's going to apply you defense debuffs, so I wouldn't even consider this. Attack +30, this can be good, but again, all of the other nodes. Topher 2 as well. 3 moves next. I would just bring a gauge support, not really too big of a problem, I would say. So yeah, if you're running her with like Signature Acerola or Adamant, or both, preferably, this unit's going to look crazy, but obviously you've got to have those partners. Other than that, though, have a grassy terrain or a good sun support like Signature Morty, and you can do a lot of good stuff with this character as well. Very strong, run-of-the-mill type of strength, though, so she's not like super insane or anything like that, though. I'm going to put her in good. She's around the same tier as Diantha, I would say, in strength. Definitely better than Hilda. So take this ranking also as like a greater than, less than valuable type of thing. I would say this is probably the ranking. Guzma being the worst, Lily being the best. All these characters in between being in this ranking, I would say. Sonya and Diantha probably can swap around a little bit, I would say. Sonya is definitely a very strong striker. Probably wants the grid to be like extremely strong, but you could probably make good use of her Power Flux and Sync Power Flux with her 1 out of 5 stuff as well. So nothing super insane. Special Costume Ingo. This guy's got a lot of good utility stuff, but obviously the big stuff with him is that he sets Bug Zone. Pretty run-of-the-mill, I'd say. Stats, for the most part, don't matter too much, mostly just the defenses, which aren't that great. HP is pretty solid. So his speed here, pretty good. Definitely very good, right? 450 speed. Again, defense is not really the great. HP is solid. Attack is good, which is good for having a good a nuke and whatnot. But I'd say his big stuff is his utility, not so much the nuke. Quick attack here. It's a 3 use move. It's a quick move. 112 base power. Pretty good base power, of course. But again, damage isn't really what he's going for. Bug Zone, of course, is the big thing with him. Infestation for Trap, and the Trainer move, which raises his evasion by 2, and accuracy and evasion of all allies by 1. Buffing accuracy and evasion are definitely some pretty solid abilities, because not many characters can do them. Accuracy is definitely one, I would say, especially facing the Gladios and whatnot. Evasion is definitely good for not taking damage, of course. If you want to run him as your character that's going to be taking an attack, you could definitely try and rely on evasion buffs in order to keep you alive. Or, of course, if you want to run a support character and you don't want them to take too much damage, you can rely on these evasion buffs for them as well. And then the Sync Nuke for his Sync move is whenever the enemy is trapped. So, pretty run-of-the-mill stuff, pretty solid overall. His skills here, Lucky's theme skills, no. Passive skills, those are what we're thinking of. Team Viral Haste 9, 100% chance to raise speed when the user's Pokemon or trainer uses a status move, so they have to use a status move. So it doesn't seem Infestation or Quick Attack will work, but Bug Wish and the trainer move will work there, so that's definitely really good. Being able to buff speed for all allies is good for the gauge efficiency, so that's good. And then Defense Crush 9, lowering defense whenever you're hitting an enemy. Definitely very good. He's kind of meant to be run with a special custom Emmett, who's meant to be a very strong attacker. This is good, for sure. Definitely solid kit here. Nothing insane with the nuke, but the utility stuff is nice. Defense debuffs, trap, bug zone, evasion and accuracy buffs for all allies, speed buffs for all allies. Pretty solid. Bug zone is definitely the biggest thing for him, though. So if you obviously have a bug character you need to run, and you need that zone, he's there to provide it. So, good partner for a Sigma Suit Hilbert, special costume Emmett, of course, Lusamine, Berg, Guzma, Nolan, Bugsy, whatever. Alder, of course, very good partner for Alder. I'd have seen a lot of talk about him not being that great because Hilbert being able to apply bug rebuff is one of the big things that's kind of making him a lot better of a character than Ingo, and I can agree with that for sure. But obviously, if you don't have Hilbert or you just want to have a more straightforward way to buff your bug characters, Ingo definitely does a lot of good, especially with his speed buffs, defense debuffs, and whatnot as well. So that's good. Looking at the grid here, he's got obviously the nuking stuff. I don't think Blind Spot's nuking, or it is, never mind. And then he's got Relentless as well as both sync nodes. So he's got some very straightforward, very strong nuking stuff here. Blind Spot for his evasion being raised. This is very good and very easy to get, as well as Relentless for defense debuffs, also very easy to get as well. So he can activate his nuking stuff very well, but obviously he doesn't really have too many of his own self-sufficient buffs with crit and attack. So I'm pretty sure they try to help out with that with Mad Strength. So, buffing his attack when attack moves are successful. They try and make him a little bit more self-sufficient in that department, though it doesn't really matter too much. Just bring a crit and attack support, which we have a lot of, so not a big problem. Super Preparation can be solid, if you want to do quick attack damage, because with the Sync Nuke, with the Bug Sync Nuke, he's going to be doing solid damage anyway against another, bug weak enemy. It's going to be fine. He's not going to need the Super Effective next. More so, this would be for quick attack, which I wouldn't worry about, obviously, so I wouldn't do it. Stationary Target 3, powers up moves when enemies are trapped. Again, wouldn't really go for this. This is more so damage stuff. The nuke is definitely what you want to go for, as well as utility stuff. Let's see. Quick Attack Follow Through applies critical hit next. This can be good if you don't want to apply crit buffs to him. You can just use this and then have a crit on your sync move, because obviously you don't need to crit your 100 base power quick attacks. They're not going to be doing too much damage. It's not a big problem. Defense Crush on Quick Attack, that's very good for faster defense debuffs. Definitely very nice. Bob and Weave, powering up his moves. Not too bad, but nothing crazy. Fast Runner. Big whoop. And then Bug Wish NPR. So, Grid, more so is to help out his self-sufficiency with his attack and crit buffs, as well as having Defense Crush for faster defense debuffs. And then, of course, the Sync Nuke is the big thing. So, you can definitely run him with a nuking grid. Pretty straightforward. You can also use his utility with defense debuffs, speed buffs, accuracy and evasion buffs to some good effect as well, and of course the bug zone to help out all bug allies. So he can be good in that aspect as well. I would say having the Bug Zone alone gives him enough value because no other character applies Bug Zone. I don't think there's going to be too many characters in the future to apply Bug Zone because we don't have too many great bug characters in the game at the moment. So maybe they will. Who knows? Maybe they will. But I think bug rebuff is probably what they'll probably focus on a little bit more, I guess. But whatever. So let's see here. I'd say he's probably valuable. Yeah. I'd say he's pretty valuable, probably more valuable than Lily, because Lily's a support. Supports can mostly be replaced for other better supports, but Bug Zone being as limited as it is on him, as well as, rebuff, if you want to use that argument, well, Sigma Suit Hilbert has never rerun, so this is also your only chance to get that bug buff, since Hilbert is still not here, so valuable tier, I'd say, for him. And then Special Costume Emmett. Okay. Pretty run-of-the-mill physical attacker, very, very strong physical attacker, 390 attack stat, pretty low average, I would say, for a offensive unit. But of course, Mega Horn is a very strong attack, so they're going to be lowering the attack stats to compensate, kind of like what they did for Sonya and I think Guzma. So yeah, or Hilda. No, Guzma more so. Anyway, looking at his stats, 248 speed's pretty low, 152 in the defenses is good, 600 HP is pretty good, 390 attack obviously is pretty strong, pretty solid for striker defenses, and the attack stats pretty solid. Speed's a little bit low, but obviously Escavalier, it's going to happen, I guess. But looking at the way he buffs himself, he's pretty unique. He's got, obviously, Mega Horn for damage, 226 base power move, 4-gauge move, pretty basic. But the Iron Defense and Swords Dance are his bigger abilities here, because he's got the 2-gauge usage, but he can do it infinitely. He's able to infinitely buff his defenses, as well as use Swords Dance to buff his offenses. Very, very good, and he can do it infinitely, so if enemies are able to debuff your defense/attack, you can buff it back, which is good. Combine that with his abilities here, Critical Affliction 9, buffing his crit when the user's Pokemon or trainer uses a status move, same thing as Ingo. He can buff his crit by doing this, right? So this is very, very good. Buffing his crits, being a self-sufficient crit buffer as well as stat buffer. So that's good. Mighty Affliction 2, 30% chance to increase physical moves next by 1 when its Pokemon uses a status move. Very good, because you're going to be using these abilities to buff his stats anyway, so you might as well be able to get physical moves next along with the crit with it. So your next Mega Horn will be hitting for a lot of damage. It can be very good. And then Rising Tide, the more his stats are raised, the greater the power of his sync move. This is why him and Ingo are built for each other, because Ingo is able to buff team speed as well as team accuracy and evasion, which is going to be useful alongside him being able to buff his own defense, crit, and attack. So you're going to be able to get that Rising Tide activated pretty quickly for the most part, as well as obviously having Bug Zone activated, as well as defense debuffs from Ingo as well. So a lot of good stuff there, a lot of good stuff. And then Safety First, the trainer move, applies Gauge Acceleration, raises his accuracy by 2, applies Super Effective next, and increases physical moves next by 1. Super Effective next, he's going to be hitting for good damage anyway, so this isn't super important, but it can still be good, obviously. And then the physical moves next is really good, especially combine it with the potential physical moves next boost he may get from Mighty Affliction 2. Definitely very, very good there. So, very self-sufficient, very hard-hitting, very straightforward. Give him stat boosts for his Rising Tide. Give him use these abilities for the stat boosts in order to boost physical moves next, as well as crit buffs, as well as boost his Rising Tide further. And then of course Mega Horn just to spam some really strong damage. So all these abilities pretty good, especially for a longer battle. You can use Emmett himself to buff his attack, and then bring like a defense support if you want to buff his defense, because in his grid he does have Tough Cookie, so he needs defense buffs anyway. You can just bring a support to buff defense, and then have Emmett use Swords Dance himself in order to buff his crit and attack faster, and potentially get some extra boosts here as well. So he's pretty diverse in how you can run him as well with his stats and whatnot. So this is good. But also looking at the grid, he's got Tough Cookie as stated, so a 30% damage multiplier to his Mega Horn, which is good. His only multiplier, but still, it's a good one, and it's a very easy one to activate. For his Sync Nuke, he has Bronze Sync 2, this obviously the Sync nodes as well, Tough Sync 3, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it for the most part, because obviously with these 50% total multipliers, he does obviously also have Rising Tide, which is a very powerful multiplier in itself, 120% increase with 18 stat buffs. That's definitely really good there, so keep that in mind. This is why these multipliers are as low as they are. But they're also very easy to activate. He just needs attack and defense raised. It doesn't need it raised to max to be fully activated. It just needs to be raised in general. So you can go to like +6 attack and then +1 crit, and you'll have the full nuke activated, barring Rising Tide, of course. You'll have to have other stat buffs for that, which it That's just gonna happen. And it's also just pretty easy to buff his. Let's see, Tough Cookie. No, fuck you. Okay, fair enough. I'm pretty sure for Tough Cookie you'd have to get rid of the sync node, which is fine. I'm not really too worried about that. I don't really have a problem with that. Little annoying, but whatever, that's fine. But you can also use this 8 energy and like sync freebie, maybe, if you want to, go for it. So you can get that free moves next and whatnot. Other than that, attack plus 30, pretty good. Nothing super insane, but it can be pretty good. It can be pretty good. Charging Infliction 1, charging Engage when using a status move, accuracy, buffs for Mega Horn, nothing insane because he already buffs his own accuracy here. He's also got Berserk on Swords Dance and Shielding Strikes on Iron Defense, so he's got self-sufficiency in his offense and defense buffing. Swords Dance, charging Infliction, being able to move, charge the move gauge when using Swords Dance, as well as Iron Defense as well. He can be pretty gauge efficient for himself, and he can also be pretty strong. Very simple character, simple multipliers, simple buffs, and then the more you buff yourself, the more damage you do. That's essentially how it is. That's how basic this character can be. Overall, I'd say he's definitely in good tier. I would put him probably similar tier to Diantha. They're both interchangeable, I would say. Ingo and Emmett work amazingly well as a duo for sure. If you have them both together, they're very, very strong. I'd say it's very likely that Ingo and Emmett are featured on separate banners. Emmett is visually featured here, so I'd say Ingo is likely going to be put on this banner. Probably put Sonya on this banner. I'm going to guess that's how that's going to go for these characters from the Tea Party. So Ingo and Sonya is probably likely, then Lily and Emmett, I would say. But Ingo's going to get screwed over because he's got Special Custom Steven. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's so far, those are the two initial Special Costumes unit batches with the Tea Party and the PokeWar Games. Now we're on to the Mystery Game. Okay. And again, you can probably swap Diantha and Emmett relative for the most part. I would say Sonya and Diantha are also pretty, interchangeable. I'd say these characters are mostly interchangeable. I would I don't know who I would say is better between these guys, Sonya and Emmett, because Emmett also is a bug character who is, bug is not like the strongest type in the game. Emmett, I'm pretty sure, is the second strongest bug character outside of Hilbert, I would say, right? Yeah, I'd say, yeah, maybe Alder's stronger after his grid, but that's also assuming you have the grid and his buffs and whatnot. I'd say Emmett's probably the second strongest. Up there with Alder, whatever. Bug definitely does not have much competition because it's not a big type. But, in not being a big type, it makes it so these characters that release that are bug type are a lot more appealing. So do keep that in mind. Okay, and the Special Custom Sync pairs for the Mystery Games. Special Custom Steven, I'm just going to go ahead and put him immensely valuable. I don't need to say anything else. This guy's cracked. Look at the stats. Nothing's insane here with the stats. The defenses are pretty solid for a tech character, I would say. 681 HP, pretty good. Run-of-the-mill / good, whatever you want to call it. 290 speed's nothing insane. Not bad, though. For the attack is not really that important, but though he does have multipliers on his sync nuke, so I guess the attack can definitely be used, especially with the normal zone with Palmer being added. Soon, anyway. But the big ability is his passives and his trainer moves, as well as Buddy Lear. Tackle, 1 gauge spammable, nothing important in its own right. Super effective next. This can be good, of course, giving super effective next to an ally, helping allies do better damage when they're facing a super effective opponent. Buddy Lear, activation condition is when there is an enemy with a lower type rebuff, and deactivation condition is when there is no longer an enemy with a type rebuff, lowered. So, pretty basic activation condition. But he's able to lower enemy rebuff by whatever their weakness is. Lowers target's type rebuff by its weakness type by 1 the first time the user's attack move is successful each battle. So if you're facing a dark opponent, you use tackle, they get -1 dark rebuff. Obviously, it's only the first time, so it's only -1 dark rebuff, but still, that's a 30% multiplier on all of your dark damage, so that's good. And then you're able to activate Buddy Lear. So, Buddy Lear's great because it never misses, lowers target's attack, defense, and speed by 2, and applies no evasion to them, and applies the restrain effect. Why restrain? Because fuck it, I guess. 1 gauge move, 3 uses, AoE. So he's AoE debuffing attack, defense, and speed by 2, and makes it so the enemies cannot evade your attacks. This is great for Latias and all of them. Restrain is good for characters with the Restrain multiplier, as well as being able to apply a status change to the enemy. This is good, on top of the no evasion, which I'm pretty sure is also another status change. This ability is amazing. Defense and speed debuffs are great because a lot of characters are running Cakewalk and Relentless, like Dojo Gloria, Suit Silver, Neo Champion Hop. All of these characters really want these speed and defense debuffs, and Steven can apply them. Attack debuffs are obviously really good for characters with like Pecking Order and whatnot. Really, really good. And his trainer move, Mystery Solved, raises an ally's speed by 2 and increases physical moves next of an ally by 3. This character is the most valuable special costume character in the game because he can turn any physical attacker into a god of destruction. I have gone over this a lot. I have made this comment a lot about this character ever since I pulled him. I literally refrain from using him because he is a fucking cheat code. He is a cheat code to win with whatever physical attacker you may using him with. Adaman becomes a god with the defense debuffs from Buddy Lear here at top of the physical moves next spam. He becomes a god. Combine this guy with any physical attacker and they will be doing good. Special costume Sonya, special costume Emmett, even special costume Ingo can probably put up a good number. They're all going to be hitting so much harder. Special costume Guzma with his physical moves next spam can't even be fucking put up to the same level as Steven because Steven does it to any ally. Steven's insane. Honestly, this is literally just by reading, 5 total things? His passive as well as the 4 moves. Yeah, this is pretty good. He's got his Sync move here. More target defenses lower the grade of the power of the attack. 100% multiplier total. Pretty good for normal damage, especially because he's got the 450 attack stat here. So if you're going to run him off type, this is not a bad multiplier. Especially because in the grid, he's also got Restraining Sync up. So you can definitely make some good numbers come from it. Anyway, he's also got Team Immunizing Command 9. 100% chance to apply Condition Nullification Field Effect when the user's trainer uses a move. So you also get the ability to be immune to status conditions for a brief amount of time. That's good, especially against like Tornadus or Crystalia's Toxic, or the paralysis from who is it? Who's the I forget who applies paralysis. Burn from like Moltres and whatnot. These type of things you get immune to because of this ability, which is pretty solid. Nothing like super insane, but this is just an icing on top of the cake that this guy is baking, and he is cooking. All right, he is cooking. Team Easy Target Speed Up 9, 100% chance to raise speed of all allies by 1 when his attack move is successful against an opponent with the no evasion effect. So you use the Buddy Lear, apply no evasion, probably use Buddy Lear 2 more times to get max stat debuffs, and then you use Tackle and you buff your team's speed. So not only is he lowering these enemy stats into hell and buffing your allies' physical moves next into fucking heaven, but he's also raising all allies' speed on top of that, and that's ignoring the super effective next. Again, he turns and ignoring the rebuff, of course. That's turning any character, any physical attacker, just into a god. Like if you're failing to make a physical attacker that you like work, like if you have a favorite physical attacker and you feel like their DPS is just too low, or their sync nuke damage, as long as it's super effective, is too low, you can use Steven here and it will buff it to immense heights. Super effective next is great when facing a weak opponent, of course. A super effective weak opponent, I mean, and of course the rebuff as well. So if you want to help with doing super effective damage, somehow or whatever, then Steven's gonna be good for that. Even off type, of course, Steven's gonna be great because the defense debuffs as well as +3 physical moves next. Really strong stuff, and that's without considering the grid. My Steven's 1 out of 5, and he's just insane. Definitely recommend picking this guy up. He's the most valuable unit in this entire summon. So basically, you're unlikely to be able to pull Lily or Guzma, and whoever else is in this banner, because Steven is simply the best character. Anyway, other than all of this, looking at the grid, he's got Restrained Scope, lowering target accuracy by 1 when his attack move is successful against a restrained opponent, so you can also debuff accuracy now, albeit pretty slow and not affected by the Buddy Lear, I guess. Restraining Sync up 9, as we said, this makes it so his Sync nuke is actually really strong. So with the normal zone coming from Palmer, this guy is going to be doing pretty solid nuke damage, as well as, of course, being able to activate Safety Tether and Adrenaline 2, turn move Sync Redemption 1. Holy god. He's got good sync stuff as well. Safety Tether for his endurance. If you want to run him in like the support slot or something, he can probably take an attack or two, especially with this. Adrenaline 2 for gauge, or yeah, sync countdown, so you could probably give him Adrenaline 1 as a lucky skill. That would be pretty good as well. And then Trainer Sync Redemption restores MP for his trainer move. Yeah, the user's trainer. Restores MP for the user's trainer. So his super effective next and his trainer move are going to be getting NPR, meaning you get extra physical moves next and super effective next. And speed buffs too. So that's good. Easy target staggering, hit 4. 50% chance to make the target flinch when attacking an opponent with the no evasion effect. This is amazing. Very, very good stuff. 50% chance to flinch from a character that's pretty much in the support role. This is good. Trainer move Mighty Friend 9 increases physical moves next by 1 of an ally when using his trainer move. So not only are you getting +3, you're now getting +4 in 1 turn. Pretty good. Pretty good. Full Bracing Command 2, raising 30% chance to raise his defenses by 1 when using his trainer uses a move, so he can become pretty solid defensively as well, even with these lowered stats, or lower stats, not lowered. Combine it with the fact he can go to level 150 in DX, and the stats are actually not that horrible, so yeah. This guy does so damn much. Easy target, charge 9, charging move gauge by 1 when attacking an opponent with the no evasion effect. Sands of Time, not really worth anything. Sync Free for All, applying free moves next to all allies after using a sync move. Quick Tempo, applying gauge acceleration on entry. Team Debut Dash, +1 speed to all allies on entry. What the fuck can this guy not do? Buff actual offenses? That's pretty much all he can't do. So, Steven's grid is insane, but honestly his base kit's just fine as it is. These abilities are just insane. Buddy Lear and Mystery Solve are 2 of the best abilities combined in the game, and then combine it with the enemy rebuff, super effective next, team speed buffs, and this guy is just easily one of the most valuable characters in the game because, again, he takes any physical character and makes him a god of destruction. Death, destroyer of worlds, Oppenheimer, whatever you want to call him, right? Alright? So, yeah. And then combine it with the grid, and of course you get a lot of good stuff, like the easy targets, flinches, trainer move, Mighty Friend. If you want to run a nuke grid, you definitely can as well. Adrenaline 2 can be good if you give him the Adrenaline 1 lucky skill. Get all that sync countdown, that can be very, very good as well. Fucking whatever else you want to run, man. I'd say this is probably some of the better stuff you can give him for sure. Trainer move, Redemption. Sync Redemption. This can be good too. He's got a lot of good stuff. This guy's very strong, got a lot of good stuff for him. So, yeah, be sure to probably pick him up. I would say if you are a person that's struggling using physical attackers, Steven will fix your problems. All of them. Anyway, Special Costume Shauna. I have problems with this character, I'm going to be honest, but whatever. Looking at her stats, she's a support character, Steel type, 284 in the defense, 276 special defense, so they're about the same. 585 HP, that's pretty low, so do keep that in mind. The defenses are solid, nothing crazy though. And her speed is meager / average / subpar. 270 is not that great, but it's okay, I guess. She's got Tackle for a 1 gauge spammable move, Mirror Shot for a 2 gauge move with 30% accuracy chance, debuff accuracy chance, Potion for some healing. This is good because she's probably going to be taking a decent bit of damage for the first couple turns. But she's also got her trainer move here, which applies the status move defense effect to the ally field of play, the stat reduction effect to the ally field of play, and the critical hit rate of all allies is buffed by 2. So you ignore stat reduction and you ignore status move defense effect. What the fuck is that? Status move defense effect? I guess status conditions. No, that'd be condition. What the fuck? Okay, so I guess stuff that like may affect you from enemies' status moves, I guess. So there you go. Status move defense effect. Big whoop. Stat reduction is definitely the bigger one though. But of course, a lot of her big stuff comes from this. Team stat Steel 9. Lowers the target stat, one of the following stats by 1 when the user's attack move is successful. So you're able to debuff one of the random stats, attack to speed, and then relatory stat Steel 9. 100% chance of lowering the target stats of an opponent and raising the user's stat by the same amount, attack to speed. Also, this raises all allies, by the way. So this first ability, she attacks an opponent and debuffs one of their stats, attack, defense, special attack to special defense or speed, and raises all allies same stat by that same stat by 1. And then relatory stat steal whenever an enemy hits her, I think. Yeah. Whenever an enemy attacks her, it debuffs one of their stats by by 1. One of these stats by 1, and then raises that same stat for her by 1. So pretty good. Pretty good. And then full bracing command 9 here, 100% chance to raise the user's defense and special defense when its trainer uses a move. So this helps fix her defensive problems for sure. Because for the first couple turns, I can definitely say for sure she does have defensive problems, but using the trainer move as well as the potions, they kind of mitigate that a little bit. So that's good. But of course, also you want to use tackle and mirror shot as much as possible, so you can get some stat debuffs on the opponent as well as stat buffs for your team. At 1 out of 5, I'd say the kit isn't super insane. It's very slow in terms of the debuffs and buffs. Good for Latias and whatnot. But the bigger stuff comes from 3 out of 5 because she gets endurance for her tanking, which is good. Team Grand Entry as well as, Team Fierce Entry. Pretty solid abilities, being able to buff stats by 1, especially for characters that can't buff their stats really at all. I use it for Zinnia and Salamence because they are dog shit at buffing their own stats. And then she's got Team Gimme 5 and Gimme 5-1, raising all of allies' stats by 1 whenever using her sync move. Combine that with Support EX, and it's pretty good stuff, right? Pretty good stuff. Being able to buff all these stats, albeit slow, but still being able to buff all of the core stats is definitely very, very strong. And then, of course, she has Relatory Stat Steal 9, debuffing enemy stats guaranteed again. Same ability as this, but except she can do it again. Pretty good. And then Team Stat Steal 4, same ability as this, except it's a 50% chance to activate, so keep that in mind. So, not only is she able to debuff enemy stats twice, and then buff her stats once, and then all ally stats once, she can do it pretty much again. This is where it gets really good, because being able to do it again is really, really strong. So your buffs are far faster, your debuffs are far faster. So yeah, this is some good stuff, as well as endurance again, as I said, in order to make her less squishy, and the Team Grand Entry and Fierce Entry in order to buff stats a little bit faster. Trainer move physical damage reducer 9, apply physical damage reduction to outfield to play when successful. This is good if you're facing a physical attacking opponent, so you can definitely try and, take physical attacks a little bit better. Outside of that, she's got potion stuff, Mirror Shot on a roll for the accuracy debuffs, which can be good. Nothing insane, but it definitely can be good. And she's also got Attack Trap, leaving enemy trapped, because why not? Why not, I guess. But other than that, I would say honestly the best abilities, of course, are her stat stealing abilities and endurance, as well as probably potion stuff, I'd say, is up there as well. I think the way I built her grid was like this, where I want the potion NPR. I think it's something like that. I could be wrong, but I definitely like the endurance because it makes her less squishy and gives her time to buff her stats, I guess. Because the endurance makes it so she can take an extra hit. Definitely a lot better for the stadium and whatnot, 100%. And then the stat steals, of course, are very, very good for getting stat debuffs in on the opponent, as well as random stat buffs in on your allies. Definitely good for like these Rising Tide characters, and of course power play characters as well, where they need stat debuffs to do more damage and stat buffs to do more damage. Definitely very, very good, very diverse buffing character, I would say. I'll put her in the valuable tier because of all those stat buffs, as well as the healing and whatnot. Don't like her squishiness, that's why she's not going up any higher than this. I would say she's probably better than Lily. No, they're about the same tier here. Maybe, I don't know. I'd say they're both good. Shauna I don't like too much in the first couple turns because of her squishiness, but I do like her stat buffs and stat debuffs and whatnot, but you also got to consider those buffs are random, so you got to keep that in mind. Special Custom Zinnia, definitely not going to let any bias go into this one. I'd say she's probably the most valuable of the valuable tier, or the second most valuable of the immensely valuable tier. And because it's pretty, I'm going to put her in the immensely valuable tier. Below Steven, of course. Below Steven. Looking at her, she is a very strong dark attacker. She's a dark tech character. 424 attack is a good attack stat. 163 defense, 187 special defense. That's actually pretty solid. 637 HP. Pretty solid defensive stats for a character that's mostly meant to do damage. 387 speed's a little bit low for whatever reason. I don't know why her stat's that low. Her speed's that low, I mean. But yeah. So, her stats are definitely really good. Her attack stat more so. Combine that with a lot of the other stuff she's able to do. So looking at her other stuff, 3-gauge move here, Crunch, 118 base power, 20% defense debuff chance. Nothing insane, but it's a good move in order to get a little bit of extra passive damage in. X attack all, buffing all allies attack, so she can take a little bit of a role for the support character, being able to buff ally attack, that's good. Buddy Night Slash, this is a good ability. Activates whenever there's an enemy with a lower dark rebuff on the enemy field of play. This is good because she's able to lower enemy team dark rebuff by 1 when her trainer uses a move. So if she uses X attack all or her trainer move, it will debuff enemies arc art. What the fuck? Debuff enemy dark rebuff by 1 for all enemies. So very good in the stadium, especially if you're running other dark characters. And then again, let's go over all these Buddy Night Slash stuffs. 2 gauge move, 1 use, 240 base power, targets all enemies, never misses, returns target's raise stats to normal, and then raises the user's stats by the same amount. So it's essentially a thief, except she's stealing all enemy stats. And except in certain circumstances, successful hits with this attack become crits, and it applies the no stat increase effect to the opponent field of play. So let's say you're in the stadium. You give the enemy the +3 of all of their stats, and then Zinnia comes in and says, fuck you, uses like X attack all. No, actually she doesn't even need to use X attack all. She just uses pretty much fucking, no, well, she does have to use her trainer move. So I guess uses her trainer move to activate the buddy move, as well as have a dark rebuff. Uses this ability instantly, steals all enemy stats, because it doesn't just steal whoever you're targeting, it steals all of the enemy stats, buffs her own by that same amount, meaning she's getting like +12 or +9 in all of her stats. And then she hits him with the Buddy Night Slash. Pretty fucking strong. Catch Me If You Can, her trainer move. Apply stat reduction defense to the eye field of play, raises her evasion by 1, and raises her crit by 2. This is good for Crunch. Obviously not this, because it has guaranteed crits outside of whenever the enemy has Vigilance. But this is good for Crunch damage and her Sync damage. And speaking of her Sync nuke, it's Innate Rising Tide. More user stats are raised to grow the power of this attack, which again, take her into the stadium, where she will be able to take the enemy stats, steal them instantly from that parameter, and then do that damage back with the Buddy Night Slash, and then use her Sync move with pretty much definitely a maxed out Rising Tide. All at 1 out of 5, by the way. Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Especially when 240 base power is definitely nothing shabby, even without having like multipliers and it being split between the enemies. It's still pretty good damage. And then you hit the enemy with a Rising Tide boosted Sync move here, and they're not going to be surviving too easily, I would say. Under conditions, of course. And then Unbuffed Foe, freebie 9 as a passive. 100% chance to apply free moves next to the user when attacking while none of the target stats are raised. Because the enemies can no longer buff their stats with the no stat increases, this means that for about 3 to 5 turns, actually I'm pretty sure it's longer. Actually, I do think it's longer, but whatever. She's able to pretty much get free moves next in until the enemies buff their stats, which is going to be at minimum 3 turns later. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Being able to get free moves next is definitely very, very nice, especially in a team setup where your gauge may be pretty bad. But of course, she's probably going to have +6 speed anyway, so gauge isn't going to be too bad. But anyway, at 1 out of 5, I'd say her only real problem is like DPS, because Crunch isn't going to do too much. Buddy Night Slash is going to be split damage. Not too bad, but still. But then, of course, her Sync nuke is definitely going to be doing pretty good damage. I can confirm, for sure. I personally can confirm. If I have the time tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow we get the Paldea eggs. Yeah, you know what? Tomorrow I'll probably release a video for Special Costume Zinnia, assuming I remember. I'll try and upload a video of her being strong. All right, I'll try and do that. But yeah, this is some pretty good stuff, just at 1 out of 5, and that's not even looking at the grid, which the grid, good night, dude, good night. Rising Tide, 2 Rising Tides. We'll just gloss over that for now. Sync nodes, neat. Unbuff foe sync up 9. 2 120% multipliers and a 90% multiplier off of a 424 attack stat. You can't get much stronger than that, man. This character is literally on similar strength levels. I'm gonna get canceled for saying this. Of Neo Champion Serena. Obviously, Neo Champion Serena's got other things that make her a lot stronger. Master passive, actually having like Water Shuriken and not Crunch and that type of stuff. But like in terms of just nuke to nuke, I want to compare it. Actually, I want to compare it before I start like really getting in on it. Yeah. Holy shit. So Serena can also lower dark rebuff, or water rebuff, I mean. Well, and dark rebuff, but water rebuff mostly. Well, also Zinnia can as well for her own dark rebuff. But Serena here, more target stats over the great power of this attack, and then she's got it in there as power play as well. Pretty, yeah. Zinnia hits harder on the nuke. 468 special attack stat. Ignoring the master passive, I guess. Yeah, ignoring the master passive, I would say Zinnia probably hits harder. Definitely hits harder in the sync nuke department than Neo Champion Serena, a master fair. Correct me if I'm wrong, give me the calculations, that's fine. But this Zinnia is insane. This Zinnia is an insane unit, very strong. Dark is also a type that does need a little bit of help. Obviously, we have fucking Marnie, but assuming you don't have Marnie, Zinnia is definitely probably your second best option. Because other than that, obviously Cyrus is going to help her with Dark Zone. Obviously, Neo Champion Serena with, being a Dark character, whatever she can swap to Dark damage, can do it as well. But I would say Zinnia is definitely the most straightforward and probably super easy to use Dark character that can just do big Oonga Boonga damage. And that's only considering her nuking stuff. Looking at her DPS, she's got Better Prepared 3, 30% power up to her moves when none of the target's stats are raised. Very good. Insult to Injury for a 30% multiplier the more the enemy's stats are, enemy's defense is debuffed, which is good. Defense Crush on Crunch. Honor Roll 2 on Crunch to make this a 60% chance to debuff defense. And, yeah. Pretty good multipliers. 30%, 30%, extra defense debuffs. Pretty solid for the defense debuffs. And just extra DPS damage anyway. But that's also considering 34 minus 34 energy. Yeah, yes. You would have to probably get rid of her nuke for that, which I would say don't do. Her nuke is definitely the strongest, absolute strongest aspect about her, and I wouldn't really get rid of that for her DPS. But in case you want to, Insult to Injury, Better Prepared 3, pretty good multipliers. Overall, pretty good multipliers. How the fuck? Fine, I won't get it then. Okay. Also considering, let's see. Damn, I really want to get that. Okay, whatever, that's fine. But she also does have Buff Block Extension 3, which extends the duration of the no stat increase effect on the enemy field of play. So she gets this extra few turns to have the Unbuff Foe freebie, as well as the Unbuff Foe sync up 9. So that's good. Other than that, though, she's got Unbuff Foe Staggering Hit 6, 70% chance to make the enemy flinch when attacking an enemy with no stat buffs. Do I even have to go over this anymore? Also, consider the fact that this is a passive skill, and if you use this Buddy Night Slash here and land the attack on the enemy, you're guaranteed flinching all of them. Well, 70% chance to flinch all of them, which is, I like those odds, alright? I like those odds. And obviously it works really well for Crunch as well, of course. 70% chance to flinch on top of the infinite free moves next here. Yeah, pretty good. Other than that, though, nothing else is super crazy. Catalytic Acceleration, Team Trainer Move Randomizer raise, also nothing super insane. I would say the best stuff is her Sync Nuke, and her Sync Nuke is insane, and it's extremely easy to set up. You literally just need stat buffs, and you need the enemy to have none, which she's able to do very easily with the Buddy Night Slash here, because you can just give the enemy the +3 on all of the core stats parameter in Stadium, and then you can just steal those turn 2. Steal them all turn 2, the enemy will be reduced to just run-of-the-mill stats, just normal stats, and then you just steal them. You just steal them, and then you're good, right? It's pretty much free points in Stadium, and it maxes Zinnia in a snap of a finger. Very easy to use, very strong character. I don't regret putting her up here in the immensely valuable tier. Definitely not as valuable as Steven, because Steven is honestly a great partner for Zinnia as well. That just goes to show how strong Steven is. So, yeah. Anyway, the last character, Special Costume Lyra. I'm running out of gas, because, God, I've been going over this for way too long. Special Costume Lyra is a pretty solid support ground character. Honestly, she's kind of akin to a fucking Variety Scout character, in my opinion, but whatever. She's got 300 defense, 284 physical defense, or what the fuck? 300 physical defense, 284 special defense, 700 HP, which is good. So overall, pretty solid stats. Speed's a little bit low, but that's fine. She's got Mud Slap as a 1-gauge spammable that also lowers enemy accuracy. Mini Potion All for ally healing. This could be good. I like using Mini Potion Alls, especially when I'm using like Secret Suit Chris. So I feel that these are actually pretty good. She's also got Earthquake, which is not going to be used most of the time, but there actually is a good reason to use it. So there you go. Initiate Infiltration. What the fuck? 2-use trainer move. Raises attack of all allies by 1. Raises defense of all allies by 3. Applies type resistance effect to the user. And the resistance is the attack type enemy the ally was last hit by. So, let's just say you're facing Diantha in the stadium last week, technically, because today is Monday. She uses a fighting move. You use this move. You get the rebuff raised for fighting. So you get to, not be hit by that hard by extra fighting moves. And then you become extra bulky because of that, which is very, very, very good, because I'm pretty sure Diantha is only able to use fighting moves in last week's Kalos Stadium. Sorry. Yeah, Flying Week. Let's see. Yeah, she's only able to use fighting moves. They're able to use fire. They're able to use fire. Okay, fuck you. But Diantha is what you're mostly worried about. So you're able to gain extra resistance to enemy, attacks for the most part. You just got to be sure you know what enemy you're fighting, what attack types they use the most, and when to be able to use this ability and gain your type resistance. Very, very good, I would say. Looking at her skills, she has rebuff reducing hit ground, lowers the target's ground rebuff by 1 the first time the user's attack move is successful each battle. That's why you use Earthquake, because it lowers all enemy ground rebuff, so that's good. Team Mighty Sync 9, 100% chance to increase physical moves next of all allies by 1 after using a sync move. Obviously, most ground type characters, I'm glad I'm already on ground, is, physical attackers, this Giovanni, this Cynthia, Clay, Maxie, Bertha. Yeah, Bertha. The Bertha's only source of physical damage is Sand Tomb. Courtney, of course, all of the characters besides, I think, Naomi. Yeah, pretty sure Naomi's the only ground special attacker other than some other character that may have Earth Power. I think there may be another one. I just can't think of them. So, yeah, pretty much every ground character is going to benefit off of this. So, yeah, that's definitely very, very good. For sure. And then Team Beef Up 9, 100% chance to raise attack of all allies by 1 when hit by an attacking move. So, that's pretty good, I would say. Only thing is that she can't buff crit, not in this state anyway, which is a little bit annoying, but she's able to buff all allies attack, all allies defense, lower enemy ground rebuff, heal all allies with innate potions, as well as have type resistance of enemies' types, so you can, take your attacks a lot better. Pretty good overall. Nothing super insane, though. I would say the abilities are definitely not insane. Not compared to, like, Zinnia or Steven, but they're still good, for sure. And looking at her grid, First Aid 4 for extra healing, Focus Group 9, this is good, of course, 100% chance to raise crit of all allies when using, when the user's Pokemon uses a move, so Mud Slap or Earthquake, be able to buff allies crit, this is good, combine it with the Beef Up 9 and her trainer move, and you can buff allies attack as well, of course, defense, so very, very good. Other than that, we got Team Wise Entry 2 being able to be, more specially defensive. Obviously pretty good, but probably nothing insane. Earthquake Trip Up, 4 speed debuffs. Pretty good if you're running a character that needs, speed debuffs to do damage or whatever, right? Like a cakewalk user or abuser, rather. Definitely a good partner for Clay, especially because he's got Hunter's Instinct as well as, I'm pretty sure, yeah, the innate cakewalk multiplier. So he definitely wants speed debuffs. Also, he takes ground rebuff very, very well. So definitely a great partner if you're a Clay fan, which I know one of. So yeah, there you go. Let's see, other than that, trying to move Berserk Bunch for even faster attack buffs. This can be good for sure. Definitely can be good. Nothing super insane, but of course culminate it with all the other attack buffs, and it just makes things go a lot faster. Sync Damage Guard for Damage Guard after using her Sync move, so you can take even more attacks, especially if it's like a high power like Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, Close Combat, super strong moves. You can take those pretty well. Sterner Stuff 2, 20% physical damage reduction. She's becoming she's becoming a great physical wall. Just the more you read into her abilities, the more her physical defensive abilities become very, very good. And then Free Venge 2 for a chance to apply free moves next. This can be good if you plan to use Earthquake and like get the trip up, or the team or the rebuff reducing hit or whatever, right? So overall, her abilities individually are not super insane, but combine them all together and she's pretty strong. Crit buffs, attack buffs, a lot of attack buffs, the defensive buffs with Sterner Stuff, as well as her defense buffs in the trainer move, as well as having the type resistance. The Free Venge, of course, is very nice as well. The AoE trip up with, or AoE speed debuffs with Earthquake, all pretty good stuff. As well as, of course, ground rebuff, very, very nice. So this character definitely can be pretty good for, I would say, but I'd say she's probably the worst of the batch for the mystery game. I'll probably put her in this tier of valuable, but nothing like super valuable, maybe even in good, but I'd say that the ground rebuff is definitely very, very nice, especially for characters that don't really care too much to have ground zone, or they're already self-sufficient with their ground rebuff, or ground zone rather, especially like Giovanni here. Definitely Lyra's a great partner because this Giovanni is already able to apply sand and ground zone for himself, so you can make good use of that, and Lyra can be good as a partner. Only thing is that like Gauge for ground type sucks, so you're gonna have to find a way to mitigate that problem. But if you can find a way to mitigate that, Lyra is a great support for a lot of ground type characters. Overall, I'd say this is definitely the tier list, honestly. stuff can be changed around for the most part, but in terms of the actual tiers, I would say most of these characters are about the same. Ingo can maybe be moved down a little bit, but overall, probably keep it the way it is. Steven and Zinnia are definitely the best of best of just the special costume units, just in general. If you disagree, thumbs up. But yeah, overall, I would say this is probably the best, I would say, for sure. Yeah, Zinnia and Steven, probably the best. I would say Zinnia's probably... I'd say Zinnia is probably going to be on this banner, so meaning you could probably pick up Steven and Zinnia, but assuming Zinnia and Steven are on the same banner, maybe pick up Ingo, or I don't know. It's really up to you, of course. This is just a tier list to give you a good look of how valuable each character can be or how strong they can be. This is all assuming 3 out of 5 and whatnot. So 1 out of 5, you have to look at that, see what these kids can do by yourself. I'd say Zinnia and Steven don't change. If we're assuming 1 out of 5, I'd say they're still definitely the strongest characters, because Zinnia's stat stuff is just insane, and the damage for her sync move and whatnot can still be really, really good even at 1 out of 5. And Steven's abilities don't really change much between 1 out of 5 and 3 out of 5. Steven still does pretty much everything the same. A lot of defense debuffs, a lot of physical moves next, super effective next, rebuff, all of it, right? He's still very, very good. But anyway, I'm going to end the video there, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know who you select or plan to select for your special costume select scouts. I wish we knew the full banner details, but sadly we do not. So you just have to take it all with a grain of salt. That's why I chose to do a tier list instead of who you should select, I guess. Because a tier list will give you a better example of what characters have what strengths and whatever else, right? I know the video's gonna be long. I know I probably murmured a lot through it or wasn't able to provide a lot of good explanation, but if you have any questions or anything, or need some extra assistance, leave a comment or whatever else, and I'll try and help you the best I can. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you all later. Hope you all enjoyed. Here's the tier list. Have fun with your select scouts and whatever else, right?